But I think essentially a diplomat is somebody who enjoys building relationships with people from different communities and in different countries, loves learning languages, loves learning about cultures, and really sees value in promoting our UK interests and keeping UK nationals safe. So my typical day in Malaysia could involve lobbying on the UN Security Council resolution on Syria, for example, or it could involve working on a visit for a member of the royal family. It's an incredibly varied workload. Every day is genuinely different, and things come up at very short notice. Right. If you're a consular officer, for example, you could get a call in the middle of the night to say, there's been an incident that you've got to deal with rapidly. I mean, it's not always high pressure stuff, but it's always exciting, I think. My key responsibilities are to report on Malaysia's foreign policy and security issues. So I lobby and try and influence Malaysia's position on our foreign policy priorities. Right. But I also lead on our press work. So essentially that's about promoting the UK and the UK brand overseas. That could range from promoting our retail sectors in Malaysia, but it could also look at our values. And one of the things I'm lobbying on at the moment is on our Preventing Sexual Violence initiative. I mean, there was culture shock every day in Japan. As I said, I come from London. I've been brought up in London. I went to university in London. So being asked, going to rural Japan where I was living amongst the rice paddies and the lights went off at 8 o'clock in the evening was a pretty nerve-wracking experience. But it was also, in the town that I lived in, it was quite unusual to have somebody of ethnicity there. And that was, I think it was a challenge for them, and it was certainly a challenge for me. But the vegetarianism thing was incredibly difficult. Japan isn't known for having a very strong vegetarian culture, and I had to learn the characters for different meats and fishes and products quickly. Okay. It helped having a Japanese-speaking girlfriend. Anyone of ethnicity who's been in our service and served overseas has had occasions where people have been surprised that they are the British diplomat in the room. And it happened to me at a national day not too long ago where I was asked to go and wait with the drivers in the drivers' quarter rather than being invited into the reception. But in the actual organisation, in the Foreign Office, I haven't once felt that my ethnicity has been a barrier. And in fact, I think for me and my colleagues from different backgrounds, I think the fact that we understand different cultures and we've been brought up with sometimes dual languages and dual cultures has been a massive benefit. It definitely was for me in Uganda. And one of my roles was to go to universities in the southern part of Iraq and talk about issues that had never been debated before. Right. Issues like whether women should wear hijab or not. Yeah. And you can imagine at that time, post Saddam's rule, having those sorts of discussions and being a British diplomat and encouraging those discussions was pretty unusual. Yeah. My job was primarily to look at the conflict in northern Uganda. So it's the longest running conflict in Africa between, at the time, the government of Uganda, the government of Sudan and the Lord's Resistance Army. But people didn't know about it. There were 60,000 child soldiers, 1.2 million people that had moved into camps at that stage, and it wasn't being reported on. There wasn't a lot of aid going into the country. I remember going there in '84 and thinking, in 2004, and thinking that it reminded me of the scenes in Ethiopia in 1984. The camps were, it was awful, absolutely awful, and a lot of these guys had been attacked by the members of their own families. So children had been abducted, turned into child soldiers, and turned against their own communities. It was pretty harrowing. The Last King of Scotland, the film that Forrest Whitaker starred in and got an Oscar, was being filmed in Malaysia at the time I was there. And they actually filmed part of that in the High Commissioner's residence. So as a sort of thank you, they took him out for dinner, and he invited us to go along and join him. So sitting next to Gillian Anderson was pretty surreal. But the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge's visit, you know, it's part and parcel of our role as diplomats overseas to ensure that we have maximum impact when ministers and members of the royal family visit. And we spend a lot of time planning that visit. It wasn't just about sort of the public diplomacy aspect, it was also about making sure that there were tangible benefits of these visits.
Right.
For me, it was absolutely fantastic. They were an amazing couple, and they really transformed the way that that Malaysians and Malaysian people thought about the UK. You know, the Foreign Office needs to represent modern Britain, and modern Britain isn't white male from Oxbridge. It's people from a variety of backgrounds, not just ethnic backgrounds, but socio-economic backgrounds, different educational backgrounds, even geographic backgrounds. We can't be London-centric, we can't be Oxbridge-centric. We must have diversity if we're going to make, you know, creative foreign policy. So I've been leading a campaign over the last 10 months to try and encourage more BME graduates to think about the Foreign Office, and to ensure that when people do join the organisation that they progress with merit through it.